Thank you so much for meeting with us. I want to just start very directly. What do you think are the issues that your rural constituents are most concerned about?
Rural constituents really are very concerned about growth. They're concerned about the economy, making sure that there are good jobs in their areas, making sure that their kids can grow up and stay in their communities instead of being exported out to other states or other parts of our state. I think that's the biggest thing right now, the challenge right now.
In reporting down here for the last year, I hear a lot about growth. People who are in support of it because we need more affordable housing, and people who feel like it threatens their lifestyle here in rural Utah. They don't want, medium density housing in their towns. How do you balance what some constituents say might be pushing into the rural lifestyle and what also people do need to be sustainable and live here?
Well, I think balance is the key. Growth is both a challenge and an opportunity. And it's an opportunity because it's a good thing that we're growing. That means we're having kids, people are moving here. That presents more opportunity for innovation, for jobs, for education. But it also does have a tendency to make people feel like change is a little bit scary and it might impede their quality of life. So the key is making sure that we're growing in a really good and intentional way, and we're planning for that growth.
Talk to me a little bit about some of the programs that help to implement that down here to keep that growth responsible.
Well, we have rural opportunity grants that help businesses in the rural areas of the state be able to thrive. It incentivizes companies to move and build and grow in rural Utah, which provides jobs so that the kids down here can have a good job and be able to raise their families near their parents and where they grew up. Those are the types of things that we're looking at. We're also really concerned about water. It's a scarce resource. We're concerned about education and making sure that no matter what zip code you live in the state, your kids can have a good quality education. And it's not just along the Wasatch Front. This has to reach to all areas of the state, and it's something that the governor and I have really been intentionally focusing on during our administration.
How do you measure success of the implementation of these policies and this progress towards responsible growth, specifically outside of the Wasatch Front, here in southern Utah, where I report, where people feel a little bit removed from the capital, from Salt Lake City?
Well, we do track data and outcomes and revenue that's generated from the tax credits that we give to businesses. But we also listen to the people. You can't govern from Capitol Hill, so the governor and I and our administration are all over this state. We visit every corner of this state all the time. We sit down and we listen to the rural leaders. Just yesterday, a couple of days ago, I had a meeting with all of the rural mayors. We listen to the challenges that they have. We rope in the legislature. We've got legislators who live in rural Utah that work really carefully with their constituents. We listen to them because they know what's going on in their communities. So it's a team effort. We work together to make sure that what we're doing is actually making an impact, and where it isn't, where we can change.
You bring up water. Anytime I do any story, pretty much, it always comes back to water. People being concerned about our water. We just had our second driest year on record in Washington County in 2025, the water year. And then people see, like we said, this growth, and they feel like there's this lack of emphasis on how do we grow and make sure we have our water, a reliable water supply. What is in the works to make sure that when we're building, we have, homes that are water efficient, we are thinking about how water is being used equitably? This is something that people are really concerned about down here. What's your response to that?
Well, it's something that we're concerned about throughout the entire state. And I know there's a specific challenge in southwestern Utah in particular because of the high growth and the lack of water. But we've made changes at the state level over the past few years. Because of the drought, we were able to make some changes in water law that just were not politically feasible without the pressure of that terrible drought a few years ago, that have really benefited the idea that we need to be conserving water, we need to be innovative, we need to find different ways to incentivize people to use less water. And we're not done with that. There are always things that we can be doing better, ways that we can use our water more efficiently and use technology in agriculture, for example, to make sure that we're using that scarce resource to the best of our abilities. We also are requiring cities as part of their planning and part of their, to make sure that they're accounting for future water usage at the beginning and not worrying about it later down the road.
Can we save our way into enough water?
Well, we're going to have to. We're going to have to save our way into enough water. We rely on a resource that's scarce here in the desert, and there are years of abundance and years of scarcity, and during our years of abundance we have to still maintain that attitude that we've got to conserve. We've got to develop this resource, and we've got to utilize technology. And I think one of the things that we miss is the idea that we get smarter over time and we figure out how to do more with less. And that's going to happen with water. We're going to have to figure out how to do more with less. And I have a high hope and belief in the people here that we'll be able to figure that out.
Thank you for that. I want to just touch on quickly affordable housing. I know that there's been a big initiative from your administration to focus on building new starter homes. Here in Washington County, our shelters have been full, are at capacity nearly all the time, and then going into the winter year, we're already reaching capacity before it's too cold. Affordable housing, how is that being managed here, and this effort to build these new starter homes, how is that being implemented here in rural communities, and are they also seeing those benefits and seeing more homes that are affordable?
Well, affordable housing is a challenge throughout the state, throughout the country really. And it's really a supply issue. There's too much of a demand and not enough of a supply. And it's something that we're working very intentionally on. In the past couple of years, the governor has hired a senior advisor specifically to work on this issue. We've been working very carefully with the legislature. We've implemented first-time home buyer programs, incentivized builders to build more starter homes. And as we move forward, we're looking at how those efforts are paying off. We're seeing if there's different ways we need to iterate and different things that we should be doing. There's always something that we can be doing better. But right now it is a challenge, there is no question, but it's something that we are very intentionally working on.